Okay, a lot of info today. Woo! Hey everyone, this is the Kooks, Cranks, and Iconoclast podcast. I'm Mike.
I'm Matt.
I'm J-Lo.
On the Wheels of Steel. And today, we're going to be talking to you about a gentleman by the name of...
Sir Arthur Conan Doyle.
Correct.
That's right.
Man, there's a lot of info on this guy, so that's why I sound like I'm talking so fast.
We're going to change the way you think about old ACD. Yes.
Nacho. He has such a long name.
Yes.
Let's just call him Nacho the whole
that's
thing
what I was going to
through.
do.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to change the way that you think about Sir Nacho Conan Doyle. All right?
Arthur Ignatius. We're not just
Yeah.
plugging in bullshit. It actually comes from somewhere.
Nacho is Arthur in Spanish, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
I thought so.
Yeah.
Anyways, Arthur Ignatius Conan Doyle was born in May 22nd, 1859 in Edinburgh, Scotland. So he's a Scot.
In May 22nd. Not on. That whole, he was all up in that. In that period of time.
Yes. Anyways, death date, July 30th, 1930, and you're up to date.
The end. Thanks for tuning in to the Kooks, Cranks, and Iconoclast podcast.
Anyways,
No, kidding.
He's responsible for just a ton of awesome stuff. You would definitely want to be his friend if he was alive today.
Unless you were Houdini, but we'll get into that later.
Yeah. I mean, man, run afoul of Houdini and just see what happens.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Furniture disappearing and getting locked in boxes and shit.
so many unnecessary chains and padlocks. He was born Arthur Ignatius Nacho Conan Doyle to a prosperous Irish Catholic family. His dad was a bit of a bastard and was a raging alcoholic. And his mother was blessed with the ability to tell stories very well, encapsulate you with her whisper of terror voice and all this great stuff that she could do. And throughout his life, he always recalled how great his mother was to him and to his craft.
So he was a Irish Catholic Scotsman.
Yes.
Okay.
Goodness.
I know.
Yeah.
Sorry, man. You got the worst of it. Shit. Anyways, when he was 7, his parents sent him to a boarding school, and he discovered that he was a mama's boy.
A boarding school, not a boarding school.
Boarding.
Not a boarding.
Aborting.
Oh, dear.
Boarding school, where he was taught how to be bored.
Enunciating.
With the Board of Education.
So he spent 7 years in a boarding school, and it was there he discovered that he was a mama's boy, as he would write his mother on the daily, and he wrote about how much he missed her.
Oh.
Yeah, I know. He also learned in school that he got that gift of gab, could tell stories that were enthralling, and he finally...
He was gregarious.
Yeah.
Egregious.
Egregious.
Gregarious.
I agree.
Preposterous. Magnanimous.
He graduated school at the age of 17 in 1876. And when he came home, the first thing he had to do was talk to his mom and be a co-signer on, it's not a car, on putting his dad in a sanitarium. Because dad had drank himself into a permanent...
Insanity?
Yes.
We've all been there.
Yeah. It's more logical and frequent than you think. But he had basically become a wet-brained alcoholic that could no longer function in reality.
Nothing worse than tequila with a yoo-hoo chaser.
Yeah, and the only thing that his dad could still do was throw an alcoholic fit and paint.
All of which he could do in an asylum.
Yeah.
I can just picture the fucking Jackson Pollock effect of his pukey drunkenness all over the fucking place.
After putting his dad in the sanitarium, and he wrote a book about it, it was a very short piece, and it's called The Surgeon of Gaster Fell, because his dad fell down a lot. No.
He got gas?
Yeah, when he got gas.
Bump, bump, bump.
It was,
That's actually really sad, but I would love to see like an old person who every time they farted like fell down.
I would feel bad for the orderlies because every time they hear a fart, they would think somebody broke a hip.
At least they'd have the Pavlovian training.
Man. Do not feed him broccoli.
Do not feed him. He will fart. He will die.
Do not feed him at all.
Don't feed him.
It was after taking his dad to the sanitarium that he decided to finish a career in medicine, or start a career in medicine, finish his degree in medicine. There you go. And he ended up getting a BS in medicine and a master's in surgery. And upon completion of his master's in surgery, he drew a doodle with the caption on the bottom that says, "License to kill."
Oh, yeah.
And
That's true.
Yeah,
that's where that comes from.
He thought it was hilarious.
A lot of connections between Doyle and Fleming.
Yeah.
Wow, I'm glad he didn't live in today's age.
Yeah.
There goes your license, buddy.
Yeah.
So at university...
License revoked.
Yeah, right. At university, he ran with people like James Barrie, Robert Louis Stevenson,
Hey.
total fucking jerk. Never gave money for the,
Robert Louis Stevenson is Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, right?
I think so.
Yeah, that sounds about right, I think.
He had a professor there named Joseph Bell, who was the inspiration for one Sherlock Holmes. More on that later.
Is that because his professor was snorting coke all the time?
I think it was his professor's cocaine addiction and the hunter's cap he would always wear. And
That's Sherlock Holmes right there, pretty much.
In a nutshell.
The game is afoot.
Wow, I was just kidding, and wow, it turned out to be real.
Yeah, he was just kind of pudgy old fart that was very meticulous about everything. And
he was a cokehead and he was pudgy?
Well,
That's the fattest crackhead I ever seen.
Poor guy.
Yeah. Nacho's first work was The Mystery of Sasosa Valley. It was evocative of Edgar Allan Poe's work, and it was published in the Edinburgh magazine Chambers Journal. If for those of you that know, you know Chambers. All right. I thought it was Zaggett's for some reason, but that would be wrong. The same year, The American Tale was published in the London Society. He's just getting to work on this stuff. At 20 years old, he decided that he would take a job as a ship surgeon on a whaling vessel, the, quote, Hope, unquote, working in the Arctic Circle. And it was there where he decided that he doesn't like to go clubbing baby seals.
Baby seals.
Yeah. He thought whaling.
Good on him for that.
Yeah, he thought whaling was fascinating, and like he loved the camaraderie of the ship, and it was just cool being the ship doctor. And like, oh man, we haven't found a whale in a while.
Let's go club some seals.
Hey, baby seals, let's go a clubbing. Yeah, and they all made jackets out of them. And he's like, oh, the brutality. I mean, like they're already down.
I wonder if being a ship surgeon in that kind of situation was easy. Just like, Doc, I'm losing my teeth, etc. Here, have a lemon. It's scurvy. And that's like pretty much what you say to every fucking person on the ship.
Yeah. Medicine was just easier back then.
Yeah, let's just cut them open and stick leeches on them.
I wonder if he was one of those people who thinks that only cute things cannot be clubbed to death. Because, I mean, he was on a whaling ship.
Yeah.
Is he like, those ugly whales, harpoon them, get them?
Some whales are cute in their own right.
I mean,
some are also just fucking terrifying.
Some are just fucking sexy.
Yeah.
Giant leviathans.
Yeah. So after his experience of working on a whaling ship, he decided to write The Captain of the Pole Star, a story in which I did not read, but I assume has much to do about clubbing baby seals.
Mm-hmm.
Singing whaling tunes, etc.
Yeah, we're whalers on the moon.
Yeah.
Yeah. In 1880, he finally finished his studies, got back to work, decided that he was going to... I know, man. So 1880, he comes back home. He finishes up any kind of schooling that he was going to do, and he decided that, man, being on a ship was so fun. I'll get on another ship, and I'll do this job, working on a steamer. And
was it from Cleveland? Yeah. Oh man, I thought J-Lo was going to say it first.
So did I. I was like, nah.
Are you guys punching up now?
Oh.
So he got a job on a steamer, the Mayumba, and it traveled from Liverpool to West Africa. And he said, you know what? I don't like this. Why don't I like this? Because West Africa's fucking terrible. It's hot. There's nothing cool here. And no one's clubbing baby seals. And,
really got any cell phone bars?
The size of my head.
Really got any cell phone bars?
Just like no cell coverage here.
It's a mess.
Good stuff. Sorry.
That's going in.
I'm jumping. I'm having to jump from page to page over here. Anyways, so yeah, he decided, nah, I'm done with that noise. He went back to work in England and set up his own practice as a doctor. He's like, nah, it's kind of fun, but I got this other patient I live with, and her name is Louisa Hawkins, and she's my wife, and she has TB, and it sucks.
Oh, I feel bad for laughing at that. I didn't see the TB coming directly around the corner. Sorry, Louisa.
There's no doubt that he was madly in love with his wife, but there was also a lady friend that he knew about that was like, hanging around the scenes until I knew about this lady, Jean Leckie.
Yes, that would be wife number 2.
Yes. That we'll get back to her in a second.
Mm-hmm.
So he opened up shop in the south of England. He just didn't really like being a medical doctor as much. He had furnished a house, and the only 2 rooms that had anything in it was the parlor where he's met his patients and the hallway where people would walk in.
I'm sorry, did I miss the part where he became an actual doctor, or is he just like...
Doctor of medicine.
Okay, he did get his doctoral then.
Well, I guess just the bachelor's, but he could practice.
I believe he was an ophthalmologist specifically.
So he was kind of like a, what do you call him, nurse practitioner sort of?
He could prescribe.
Modern equivalent?
He could prescribe cocaine. We know that.
I thought anyone could just go buy cocaine in a pharmacy back then. Because I do know that in the Sherlock Holmes stories, he'd be like, have the neighborhood boy run and grab me my cocaine.
Yes.
Maybe that was like a little bit earlier than...
At the local apothecary.
Yeah.
In the future, it would later be sold on the corner by the pharmacy.
Yes. You guys are just...
I got that work.
He decided that he would try his hand at writing. And so when he started trying to do anything, he couldn't think of anything until he thought of his college professor who did a lot of coke and was meticulous and maybe didn't do so much coke. I don't know, but we're assuming that he did a lot of coke because everyone's doing it back then.
Well, quick question. Did Doyle do any coke on a regular basis?
There was no mention of it.
Okay.
Was he like one of those opium users like everybody else back then?
I would presume.
What are his dates again?
Born in 1859,
Okay.
dead in 1930.
Okay, like I know that all the musicians, at least, of historical relevance, are always using opium.
I don't think, not in, what I've read of him, he never had like an addiction of any sorts. He may have used sparingly, but there's no surefire evidence to back that up, really.
So his writing career, anyways. So his dad being an artist and his mother being really good at regaling him in stories, he figured he'd try his hand at making some kind of story, and he ended up creating Sherlock Holmes, which ended up being published in a magazine locally. People fucking loved it. They're like, man, this is awesome. He didn't think it was going to turn into much of anything, and it actually blew up, and the creation ended up owning its creator.
Yeah.
George Lucas of his day.
Yeah.
Yeah. He actually ended up fucking hating Sherlock Holmes after a while.
Big time.
So the George Lucas of his day.
Yeah. He wrote plenty of stories about it until the last serial he wrote was Moriarty, the villain, which is actually an Irish name. Did not know that.
One of the first literary villains.
Yes. And Moriarty and Sherlock Holmes got into a battle on top of a waterfall, big one, and they were beating the dog shit out of each other, and they both fell and quote unquote both died.
Wasn't sorry to interject, wasn't that story called like The Final Solution or something? The Final Battle, or do you have the name of it handy?
Not handy, no.
Shit, because I know it's almost like damn near identical to like The Final Solution, which was why I thought it was so. Couldn't see the future on that one.
Looking it up now.
About 10 years would go by before we saw anything about Sherlock Holmes. And this show is about Nacho Conan Doyle, not Sherlock Holmes. Thank you. We're trying to do this guy some justice.
The Nacho Show.
Yes, this is Nacho Show. Thank you, Mike. Anyways.
The Final Problem.
That's it, yeah.
Yeah. And so he's like, well, that's done for now. And so he was looking for something else to do, and enter the Boer War. BOER.
Real quick before you jump into that, sorry. I wanted to throw out, he had another famous character that is lesser known, but this was sort of his backup Holmes character, sort of, by the name of Professor Challenger. And
It's just in my email.
I just had an idea. Sorry, yeah. Professor Challenger is best known for the book The Lost World, which, yes, the Jurassic World and Jurassic Park, etc., are loosely based on, but this is one of the first reoccurring science fiction characters that Nacho created. And I've got a couple of his novels, books sort of summarized here. The Lost World, everyone knows, they go within the earth and find a place populated by dinosaurs. There is one called The Poison Belt, in which Earth passes through a poisonous cloud of space ether. So, could happen. The Land of Mist, which was a story of the supernatural reflecting the strong beliefs in spiritualism, which Doyle developed later in life. The Disintegration Machine, concerning the potentially dangerous new invention by a scientist named Nemor, who sounds very loosely based on Tesla.
So he was a contemporary of Jules Verne.
Oh, yes, most definitely. Yeah.
What was his imagination style like compared to Jules Verne? Because in my opinion, Jules Verne has the ability to bore you even under the greatest of terrifying circumstances.
I would say Verne is more like predictive, fanciful, where at least Doyle was as far outside of like the spiritualism stuff. In his, quote unquote science fiction here, he was more grounded in the science of the time, or at least the speculative science of the time.
And which guy was this? Who was more grounded?
Doyle.
Oh.
Yeah. If I had to equate him to any modern author, I would say probably not style necessarily, but like methodology. I would say like Dan Brown. A lot of the stuff is based on like provable facts until you get to a point.
Yeah.
And then after that, it's like, well, no one can tell you what happened on April 28th, 536. No one knows.
I saved his most fanciful story for last, actually. It's called When the World Screamed. It says Professor Challenger, with the help of Mr. Malone and Mr. Peerless Jones, drills into the earth until he reaches the mantle, convinced that it is a sentient being akin to an echidna, which, those are like those spiny sea creatures, which he believed that basically under the Earth's crust and mantle, like the planet Earth was an entirely sentient being. It was like a giant fucking echidna underneath, which is pretty.
Yeah.
That's like early Lovecraftian shit, I would say, right there. But yeah,
also a contemporary.
Yeah.
In my opinion, this is just my editorial. I think we would be foolish to think that the Earth is not alive when alive things grow from it.
Oh yeah, no. There's arguments to be made. I mean, look into like, the idiosphere, things like that, world mind.
The idiot sphere?
IDEO sphere. But there is an idiot sphere, yes. It seems to be overtaking things lately.
So,
including the closet.
We've digressed. We've digressed. The Boer War, the war between the English and
the Boers
and the Dutch.
Oh.
In South Africa. Then if you ever wondered why South Africans have that weird accent, you can't quite get like,
can't quite pinpoint.
Where are you from?
You're a dickhead.
So Arthur Conan Doyle arrived in 1900, and he spent most of his time fighting disease for the army because, by the time he enlisted, he was 40 and kind of overweight. Dude, what are you doing here? You can't fight. And he's like, oh, it's cool. I'll just open up a medical tent. And they're like, oh, yeah, okay, cool. These guys are probably going to get shot. So he goes down there and he's like, yeah, I'm a big swinging doctor down here. I got bad news for you guys. More people are dying from typhoid than bullet wounds. We should do something about this. He wrote in 1900. He wrote a comprehensive book chronicling the events of the war, the British shortcomings, like the disease, organizational issues, and the conflict itself.
When was this about? Sorry,
1900.
So in 1900, he just like joined up with the army and was like, I want to be in the army. They're like, what are you doing here? And he's like, well, I can just set up a medical tent. They're like, okay, cool. That's how they did it?
That's exactly how it happened.
Just as someone wanted to help serve in some way.
Holy smokes. It's changed a lot since then.
Yeah. He just took a commission and then rolled out. After the war, he decided that he would try and run for political office. And, he wanted a seat in the seat of Central Edinburgh, which I guess is their equivalent to their
parliamentary ministers.
Yeah, state parliamentary. He called it the premier radical stronghold of Scotland, and he was accused of being a Catholic bigot. He lost by a narrow margin. I guess just being a Catholic bigot wasn't enough.
Wow, that's kind of strange considering the left turn he would take later on in his beliefs.
Yeah. Catholic bigot meaning he was Catholic and was bigoted against others, or bigoted against Catholics?
The former.
I see.
Yeah, and so that's when he said they can fuck that sky high. And he returned.
Oh, man, that is a man of letters right there, boy.
He returned
literary genius.
He returned to London and started writing again. He's like, well, I'm just gonna I'm just going to do this. After a prolonged stay in the Devonshire moors and a visit to Dartmoor prison, he decided that it would be a really cool idea to write something kind of spooky and supernatural.
So, excuse me, he went to the prison or he was sent to prison?
He went toward the prison.
Okay.
He just kind of, checking it out.
Yeah, that was a tourist attraction back then.
Yeah,
It was like,
vacation.
Yeah,
going to insane asylums. Like, people would bring the whole family. Like, look, kids, this person has built a
This woman
castle
has-
of feces inside of her cell.
This
This
woman
guy's
has
building a
hysteria. Yeah. Won't stop building houses.
Yeah.
He was initially going to base the book on local folklore, an inhospitable manor, and an escaped convict, and a huge spectral black dog. You guys know which one I'm getting to?
Mm-hmm.
He soon realized that he had no hero while writing this, so he decided to bring up one Sherlock Holmes.
Brought him back.
And he structured it as an old case file. It was met with mixed reviews. I mean, people were very happy that he was back.
Yeah, actually, when he first killed Sherlock Holmes, people were actually wearing like black bands around their arms to, mourn the death of Sherlock Holmes.
Really?
Yeah, of a fictional character.
Yeah, and what's also weird is that
They didn't even do that when Luke Skywalker died.
I think it was in Edinburgh. There's actually a statue of Sherlock Holmes as opposed to the man who wrote it, but there is a statue of him. I think in
Him is in Doyle.
Yeah. Doyle, somewhere in England. I forget where exactly.
Somewhere in England. Who cares?
Yeah. To you listening in the UK, thank you.
Yeah.
Anyways,
One guy.
Yes, thank you. No, there's two. I checked the stats. There's two. I'm serious.
Hey, thanks, guys.
yeah.
Ladies.
The story was published in Strand magazine in 1901, and it was a big hit for Strand magazine. But internally, Nacho was very upset that this was going to be something that could turn into something more that he didn't want to do. But
Nacho. Sorry.
A year later, King Edward VII knighted Nacho for his service during the Boer War. It's rumored that King Edward VII was a bit of a fanboy, and he only knighted him for bringing back Sherlock Holmes, even if it was just for a previous case. But I just imagine King Edward.
He was knighted not for his service in the war, not for his medical past, but for writing Sherlock Holmes.
I think so.
Wow.
It's the rumor.
He knighted him just for bringing back Sherlock Holmes.
It was under the guise of his service during the Boer War, but it's heavily rumored that he just knighted him because I really like the way you write.
Man,
Oh, wow.
any fiction writer I would consider them extremely lucky to have a creation that gets away from them. But I only say that until, it happens to you.
Yeah.
It probably really fucking sucks. Be overshadowed by your own creation like that.
I mean, the fake Neville Chamberlain is just, God damn it, we can't get away from that guy. I hear him all the time.
Mr. Giant Adam's apple himself.
Anyways, in 1903, Strand Magazine, its only Strand Magazine, began serializing Return of Sherlock Holmes, and people lost their shit. Yeah, it was confetti in the streets, and what's that band? Panama?
Van Halen?
Van Halen was playing, dancing in the streets. Now settled at home as a knight, Nacho spent his time writing and doing all kinds of stuff for his wife, Louisa, trying to help out wherever he could.
What a good guy.
Well, hold your horses there, J-Lo.
Whoops.
I was going to say, Louise is still alive at this point. Okay.
Yeah. And discreetly spending time with Jean Leckie.
Oh.
He spent a lot of his free time, like golfing and driving fast cars and getting in hot air balloons.
While he's got this dying wife at home. Yeah, I can see this guy's like kind of already setting up the sequel in the background.
Yeah. He got into bodybuilding, which is a weird thing to get into in your mid-40s, but okay.
It happens.
Yeah. Midlife crisis, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of doing that for my midlife crisis.
Yeah.
It's cheap.
Yeah.
It's a cheap midlife crisis.
I was going to go with extreme body modification, make myself look like a snake man.
There you go. More so than we already do.
You can just do that with tattoos.
Yeah.
Ugh,
But
I'm a white devil.
So all this fun he was having, getting hot air balloons and banging Gene Leckie on the side, that's just conjecture. He wanted another crack at politics. He thought it was time, Well,
no.
I think I can do better this time. And he made another attempt in 1906, and guess what happened? Fail.
Yeah.
1906 was another bad year for him because on July 4th, American Independence Day, Louisa independently died. Declared independence from reality.
She had help. She had help from tuberculosis.
She did. She had TB12 come over there, and
tuberculosis independently killed that lady.
Yeah.
It would be a better way to
that
put
nice
it.
lady.
And Doyle fell into a deep depression, and to pull himself away from it, he helped this poor kid that had been accused of a crime. You're never gonna guess the guy's name.
Watson.
Yeah.
I wish. That'd be awesome. No, George Edalji. Edalji. Edalji?
Oh, yeah. Okay, I remember reading about this a little bit.
So
he was an Indian, East Indian soldier, correct?
He was just like a young kid.
Okay, but he was accused of murder.
Dude, they said that this fucking guy went like across town and just started killing horses and cows with a knife.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know it was.
We're still digging into that. So, playing the role of Sherlock Holmes himself, he tasked himself with trying to help George get away with murdering horses and cows.
I heard he didn't do it though.
Yeah, he didn't. Doyle proved his innocence by proving that his eyesight was so poor that there was no way he could have been able to commit the crime. And Scotland Yard said,
he was chopping up rocking horses the whole time.
Yeah, these aren't real horses. These are kids' toys. And Scotland Yard said, hey, do you know how hard it is to oppress minorities? And you're over here just fucking shut up, man. I'm out here doing my job. I don't come to your fucking job and fucking resurrect Sherlock Holmes for you. Don't come to my fucking job and tell me how to oppress poor Indian kids. And so
I'm not going to tell that joke. Never mind.
So this poor kid, he got, I guess, like the equivalent of a no contest. And like they didn't charge him with the crime, but the crime is still stuck on his record as being charged with it. But
sounds kind of like an Alfred plea type deal.
Yeah. In fact, I think that's pretty much what it was, I guess. This whole conversation with Scotland Yard was the first time ever that no shit Sherlock was used.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Wow.
No, not really. But,
okay. Oh, man. You had us going. I was about to say, like, that definitely had to be a more modern turn of phrase.
In hindsight's 2020.
Yeah.
But no shit Sherlock and what's that? No dough Weenie Watson. I think me and Mike just used to say that to each other. I don't know if that's a real thing or not.
Maybe.
Anyways.
Fuck that Sky High.
Yeah.
He still gets points for that one.
I think Matt Berry actually did that one, but Matt Berry's so great. Anyways, September 18th, 1907, after 9 years of a secret sexy relationship, Nacho and Gene Leckie got married very publicly with 250 people attending. Now, mind you, it's been a year and August. Oh, no, it's been 14 months. The fucking sheets aren't even cold yet.
Oh.
And he's out there. Let's do this. They've been planning this for a while. They ended up moving to Sussex, and he kept a flat in London.
Come get some of these nachos, baby.
So they were planning on his wife dying so they could get married?
I wouldn't go as that far.
I don't know about planning, but I mean expecting her to die anytime.
Yeah, I think he kind of like knew she was on, going to be on the way out and was kind of seeking solace in another woman's affection.
I can understand that mentality, but at the same time, I recognize it's very morbid.
Yeah, and you got to keep in mind, man, this guy went to extreme lengths to try and help his bride. They actually lived in Egypt for a while because the air was drier, and they thought that would help, but it turns out tuberculosis doesn't care. You need antibiotics and shit.
Yeah.
Tuberculosis don't give a shit.
That's right. TB. Tuberculosis. Anyways, he kept a flat in London, and probably so he could go set up his other future wife just in case this one dies too. He tried his hand at writing plays, and he wasn't very good at the first one. He wrote a couple of them. The House of Temporelli? Yeah, Temporelli. Meh. Got meh reviews, and then the Speckled Hand. was about, I think that's the third one he did, and he ended up getting, he got all his money back, and he was very happy about that. He said,
was that a Sherlock Holmes story, The Speckled Hand?
It did have some aspects of that, and I do think that was one of his guys in there.
Did you say screenplay or stage play?
Stage play.
Okay. Did he have the same kind of problem that a lot of these comic book writers have, where they can write beautifully in the comic books, but not so well for the screen? Frank Miller, I'm looking at you.
I think just
RoboCop was good.
RoboCop 2?
Oh yeah, it was 2.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
Mm.
in the future, Detroit is in Dallas.
Yeah,
That's right.
weird.
The Speckled Hand had Sherlock Holmes in it as the hero, and they had casted a live snake as one of the cast members. The cast and crew pleaded with him, please, we don't want this fucking anaconda motherfucker just hanging around. And in order to get the snake to move, the stagehands would have to poke it and pinch it. And
I was about to say, let's piss it off real fucking good. That'll get it to fucking act.
Yeah,
act, snake.
emote. God damn it,
get in there with it, punch it.
That last play made Nacho a shitload of money, which is actually a financial term, and he retired from his quote unquote stage work afterward. So, and then a whole lot of nothing until 1909 when his next kid Dennis was born. Then 1910 Adrian. Then 1912 Jean the Dancing Machine, a daughter.
Jean Jr.
Yeah, Jean. And along that time frame was also, like Mike was saying, when he created Professor Challenger and the Lost World. That shit was a huge fucking hit. The Valley of Fear in 1914, the Sherlock Holmes novel, second Holmes, and shortly after that, The Valley of Fear in 1914, Sherlock Holmes novel, the second was absent from the novel. He was, this story, he was in the book, but it wasn't necessarily him. It was more Watson solving the crime, and people were like, what the fuck is this?
What is up with this doctor solving crimes?
Yeah, like a doctor? You mean a classically trained doctor, medical doctor, is solving murder mysteries?
That'll never fly.
Yeah, that shit ain't gonna work. House, I'm looking at you. Anyways, in May of 1914, him and Jean traveled to New York City in Canada and did all this stuff, and they were partying. And prior to that, he had wrote to Fortnightly Review about an upcoming
that's every 2 weeks.
Yeah, but Fortnightly Review comes out every 2 weeks. That's right.
I'm just glomming onto what I know.
Did you say Fortnight Weekly?
Yeah, Fortnightly Reviewed.
Oh,
Review. Excuse me. I can't even say it. Fortnightly Review. No wonder this magazine's not around, or I've never heard of it. Anyways, he wrote to them about this untested style of warfare that they were using, where they just mow down people with a shitload of machine guns and creeping artillery and all this stuff. And
that sounds very effective.
Pelican guns or whatever they're called.
Puckle guns?
Puckle guns, yeah.
Oh,
50 caliber freaking machine guns. I can't believe they had those back then.
Yeah. And we need a steam powered machine gun that just annihilates whatever it fucking touches. And so all this is, he wrote about war readiness and preparedness. And he was like, man, this is going to be bad. I know this is going to be bad. He was worried about the modern warfare with submarine blockades and aircraft and their capability of devastating a large area, right?
It sounds like someone we're going to be covering right around the corner.
He had wrote to them about a potential solution against blockades and creating an underground channel tunnel from England to France. And they said to him that some guys were like, wow, yeah, that's a good idea. We should do that. And other guys said, this is more like a Jules Verne fantasy.
I was going to say, man, that sounds a lot like Journey to the Center of the Earth, where he's describing all of the atrocities of the Civil War and how he's going to create all of these ways of helping these jacked up soldiers.
And the thing about it is, there is a tunnel from England to France.
It's a channel and a tunnel.
Yeah.
It's a channel.
A channel, that's right. And if you remember correctly, at the end of 28 Days Later, they all come out of that tunnel and hit the mainland. Yes, and not...
That's right, that did happen.
And not the fancy-free, fun-loving zombies.
No.
The
fast, fucking scary kind.
The rabid kind that are always angry. So angry. All the time.
Well, wouldn't you be too?
It's the rage disease.
They want brains, man.
Or just to kill. Anyways, as the war broke out, Nacho, 53 at the time, offered to enlist again. And he was...
Now, this is the First World War.
Yes.
Okay.
or as they called it, the
Great
Great
War.
War. Yes, what's so great about Great War?
Yeah, I'm sure if someone around that time called it the First World War, everyone would probably be freaking the fuck out. They're
Yeah.
like,
There's gonna be more? Yeah, dude.
oh, just you wait.
The war broke out. He was 55, and he was denied as any kind of soldier, like in a infantry or fighting role. And he said, "Fuck it, I'll just start a volunteer battalion." He decided that he was gonna, medical doctor this thing like he did the last one. And after the Navy lost over 1,000 men in one day.
Damn.
Yeah, which that's
And
not
what conflict was this again?
World War One.
Oh,
The man, when I say World War One was a meat grinder, I mean like, dude, like it was
sometimes quite literally.
Yeah,
it was. I
it's
mean,
bad.
no, look, all I'm saying
I've
is
seen pictures. It's bad.
no one ever found their thrill on Hamburger Hill. That's all I'm saying.
Oh,
all
No,
right? Yeah.
They were rather turned into hamburger.
Oh,
Yes.
You know, I don't know if I mentioned this in our Dean on Fortune episode, but that's where it came up. That's where I learned it. Apparently, necrophilia was rampant in the trenches.
That's fucking disgustingly true.
Yeah.
Oh man, I'm
Yeah.
sorry I didn't know
Yeah.
that that's a thing.
We're hitting you with all kinds of truth over
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
Hey, like that, historians.
I don't.
So after 1,000 lives lost in a day, he suggested to the Department of the Navy, or
We keep it light here. So.
yeah, he told someone in the government, you guys should do this. He suggested inflatable belts, like, if you fall overboard, you can just pull a ripcord and now you got
And the little ducky comes out.
yeah, you got a little rubber ducky belt. And then inflatable life rafts and body armor sounds like it would be a good idea. To which they replied, "No shit, Sherlock." And a lot of people
I see a theme developing here.
yeah. See what happens when your character outgrows you. He had actually pestered the dog shit out of the Navy so much that they're like, dude, this guy is super annoying. But Winston Churchill, Secretary of the Navy at the time, said, all right, look, you guys are just being assholes, all right? I'm going to write him a letter and tell him thank you for his work, and we got it from here. And just direct all your letters to this fucking trash can. And,
The inbox.
yeah. He just marked inbox on a trash can and said right there. He actually wrote him back and told him, thank you for your contribution to the war effort. We will consider it. And in 1914, as the war was setting up, man, as it was just getting heated, he wrote another Sherlock Holmes story.
Oh, I didn't know there was one written during the war era.
Yeah. It's called His Last Bow, and Holmes sniffs out a German spy.
Ah.
He smelt like sauerkraut. Go ahead, Mike.
I was going to say, like, I think it's also strange that Doyle wrote these letters to the military, etc., and was replied with, thanks for your help, but we got it from here. We've seen this before with other people we've covered. I think it's kind of indicative of a bit of a kook.
Yeah.
Somebody who wants to be in the military.
Yeah, well, has like, I've got these ideas that you totally got to like check out. And like,
you just don't understand.
yeah.
No, you do got to kind of be a kook to want to be in the military, man. Yeah.
To be told what to do all the time.
To voluntarily go into a field of explosions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of soldiers that go into fields of explosions,
Uh-oh.
1916, the British campaign in France and Flanders was a book that Conan wrote. And after seeing the front line, and he was fucking mortified. He said, it's a tangle of mutilated horses and their necks rising and sinking, laying amongst the blood-soaked remains of fallen soldiers.
Oh, my God.
End quote.
I don't know why the horses hits me harder than the humans.
Yeah.
It's-
Well, the horse didn't have a choice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Those people probably volunteered. And, man, that fucking dude, when I say that war was bad, like, there's parts in France that are so poisoned from being shelled so hard that they can't grow anything there because whatever grows there will kill you if you eat it.
Yeah, I mean,
Really?
dude, the pictures of World War I that I've seen are just some of the worst. Just, oh, God.
They're still digging up landmines and shit.
Yeah.
The war kind of took his eye off of ever wanting to do anything with the military ever again. He's like, oh, God,
Yeah.
no, thank you. He ended up hanging out and doing stuff and going back to civilian life. Then we get the weird instance of Sir Roger Casement an Irish diplomat that was tried for treason.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Same.
Anyways, he was the inspiration for Lord John Roxton.
That name sounds familiar.
I believe he was one of the characters also in The Lost World with Dr. Challenger.
Okay.
I thought he was in Kansas.
The band?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Rock's on. Oh, wait,
Rock-
that's the oil company from Marvel.
Yeah.
isn't it?
Roxton. Anyways, he was found guilty of trying to get German support for independence, being, an Irish diplomat and all. And
Wait, what? Say that again.
Sir Roger Casement was an Irish diplomat and the inspiration for John Roxton, and he was accused of treason. During the war, they tried him, or right after the war, they found him guilty of trying to get German support for Irish independence.
Oh, okay. I thought, okay. Sorry.
And then,
Go on.
And then they're like, well, So, being a friend of the Nacho man, he's like, hey man, you think you can help me out? I heard you got this Indian kid off. Maybe you can get me off. And hold on, it gets worse.
Phrasing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyways,
Go on.
so Roger Casement said, you think you can help me out? He said, yeah. Do you have any proof that you didn't? And he's like, just go through my diary. And he's like, oh man, I don't think we can admit your diary into court. Well, why not? Because there's a lot of stuff about you having gay sex in here, and
Oh.
gay sex is illegal in the UK. And he's like,
Only decriminalized till like the 1970s, I believe.
yeah, and
Cow.
Yeah, pretty fucked up.
and so they charged him for
Same for
treason.
witchcraft.
They charged him for treason and gayness, and they hung him
Uh,
for the treason, not for the gayness. But
I'm sure the gayness didn't help. back
yeah,
then,
yeah.
so.
and like, man, I was like, wow, that's really fucked up, man. Like, you're a diplomat and you have a diary. What? It's not even a memoir.
Man, this is reminding me of some other stuff we mentioned in previous podcasts. Like, once you get into that world of politics, especially, it seems, and like, well, I know there's a global phenomenon, I'm sure, but like, it seems that like in the UK, their personal lives come back to bite them in the ass more often than anywhere else, it seems.
I mean, if Rob Ford was running for office back then and had
I'm gonna kill him, brother.
Well, both individually and collectively, I'd say you're correct. I mean, when World War II, they got bombed the shit out of after being so imperialistic, and now they're a much weaker world power because of it.
when you're the British government in the 19 teens, you are still the biggest swinging dick on the globe. But on this, after the war, they did a body count on Nacho Conan Doyle's family, and he lost. Get this, it's about to get shitty. He lost a son, his brother, both his brothers-in-law, and both his nephews.
Oh man!
And for those of you keeping score at home, that is 6 bodies.
Dang.
And it fucking destroyed him.
Yeah.
He was
Yeah.
he started looking for why what the fuck, God, why?
Yeah.
And he started creeping more and more towards spiritualism.
That's weird because that's very similar to I'm not condoning this or saying it's bad, but in the Bible, that story where the guy says the Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away, and
Job?
just basically just
Yeah.
torturing him
Yeah.
by killing everybody that he knows, and especially his family and all of his crops, and giving him
Yeah.
swords and stuff
Yeah.
And prove a point to someone that just wanted to cause chaos in the first place.
Well, it's a bet between God and the devil.
Yeah.
Like, he's saying, like, I can fuck this dude's life up so bad and he'll still love me. So, I don't know.
Well, I'm just saying that Conan Doyle
It's this. Well,
understands this parable.
yeah. Yeah.
Yes, being a Catholic and all, I would expect that.
Well, yeah. And that's what's weird is that, like, this fucked with his faith so bad that he ended up turning to spiritualism, and much the same as the world at this point. Like, not only did the Great War, and on top of that, I believe, Spanish flu epidemic killed so many fucking people worldwide that this is, spiritualism's been around since the 1840s. And this is where it really, like, kicked into hyperdrive because people were looking to, assuage their grief. And this basically allowed them a way to talk to their dead relatives. I've actually got a quick bullet point sort of run through of spiritualism. Like, man, it goes off into some weird fucking places. It came from weird fucking places. But yeah, it originated in the 1840s in upstate New York's quote-unquote burned-over district. The term burned-over district refers to the western and central regions of New York State in the early 19th century, where religious revivals and the formation of new religious movements of the Second Great Awakening, i.e., traveling revivals like, the tent churches that would travel around, stuff like that.
I was raised under one of those.
Really?
Yeah.
You lived in a tent?
No, but I was raised under what that became.
Like the revivalist kind of thing?
It's a real, it's like real new age.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Because the whole that sort of like kicked the United States into like a new religious fervor. And people were looking for alternative belief systems. This is when like you have like the Quakers showing up and
movers
stuff
and
like
the
this.
shakers.
Yeah, exactly. Holland Oates. So yeah, a great spiritual fervor seemed to set the whole area on fire, and that's why they call it the burned over district. It would eventually reach its height right after the First World War and Spanish flu epidemics, when it seemed to be that the whole world was in the midst of a spiritual slump, in addition to a perpetual state of mourning.
So they needed a spiritual slump buster.
They needed a spiritual enema. Sounds like this town needs an enema. Spiritualism was originally strongly associated with progressive politics, socialist ideology, abolitionists, women's equality, universalist churches, etc., and originally sought out the knowledge of spirits in regards to various moral and ethical issues because, they figured who's going to know better than a dead person. I don't know, seems logical to a degree in a very illogical way. But it wasn't until the later on added aspects of monetary gain and entertainment found their way into spiritualism that the whole thing just basically fell to shit.
Agreed.
Yeah. Which is the same for a lot of religions. I don't know. That's, you can almost draw a direct line to like the Joel Osteen megachurch style shit going on today.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you could see that people were trying to profit off of it. Case in point,
Oh,
the
yeah.
Edison
profit.
The Edison necrophone was a product of.
Yeah, that's definitely a product of this time.
Yeah.
Spiritualism is somewhat directly responsible for also the creation of the Society for Psychical Research, which is one of the first specifically formed groups to investigate claims of fraudulent mediums, as well as where we would eventually get the term parapsychology and dealing with the paranormal as like an actual scientific method applied to investigating these strange goings on. This is also where you could arguably draw a direct line to the whole entire overabundance of contemporary ghost bro shows, in which the simple editing tricks or noises no one else hears and sensations claimed to be felt by alleged mediums appear to be sufficient enough evidence for the existence of the paranormal.
I think it's raining, or this ghost just peed on me.
Yeah, much like Agent Mulder, I want to believe, but I'm going to need, I'm going to need a little more.
Not until this ghost shits in my pants.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. With aliens, man, I don't know. We were talking about this earlier. Like, I get why that's a little more complicated, what with like potential space diseases and stuff like that. But yeah, ghosts, I don't know. I mean, just other than like, did you hear that? Like, I'm going to need a lot more. I don't know, like, why these shows are so fucking popular. I think it just, like, goes to show, like, the credulity of people in mass these days. Just, like, willing to fucking believe anything to
I think
a
it's
degree.
hilarious. It's a reflection of capitalism, man. The alpha maleness, the alpha dogness.
Well,
Like anything, if I just go out and act like an alpha dog, I can fucking kick their ass and anything
Right.
everything will be solved.
Bow to my will. There's that aspect of it. And then also just, once again, and I see this parallel with spiritualism, definitely. I think underneath it all, it like provides a sort of relief. Like, yeah, there is an afterlife. It's sort of like,
It also takes the
ensures
responsibility
people-
of being a not shitty person off of your shoulders.
well, yeah, if you do the whole like, fucking Hail Mary pass, like, I accept Jesus in my heart, and fucking like, then you die. As long as you fucking do it right before you die, everything's
I'm just
okay.
saying, like, whether you're depending on aliens to come, whether you're depending on Christ to come, or,
Oh, yeah,
or
yeah.
Muhammad to come, or somebody, or some other entity
Yeah.
outside of yourself, because let's face it, that's what they're thinking at this point, to come down and save you from yourself,
Yeah.
then you have missed the point.
That's another. I think that's a big cultural thing right now as well. Like why haters are so big, because it's like all these people are haters. It's like, yeah, there's no reason why you should fucking maybe work on yourself. Maybe you have a fucking character defect. Maybe they're not all haters. Okay.
There's a bunch of guides out there on how to be, but you have to read them and follow them and like think about them and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, excellence
Takes work.
Excellence takes work. Yes, to be good and better takes work, and fucking just that's people ain't into that. They want the fucking shortcut. They want the
We all do, but
Yeah.
only some of us
yeah.
are willing to work.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Just do it, man. Just go.
Just do it, man. Just make it happen.
Yeah.
You can do it. You can do it.
Yeah. Gonna take some work, but we'll get there.
It's okay to be fun work. Yeah, we'll be there with you.
I believe in humanity. Fucking, I think we'll eventually get it right. Just it might.
We will get it. I hope we get it right in our lifetime. That's what I'm hoping.
We'll
for.
see. I don't know.
We'll see. I don't know either.
But yeah, that's basically spirituality in a nutshell. It branched off into so many fucking weird places. And before I kick it back to Matt, I have one in particular example of one of the weirdest places that branched out of spiritualism. I'm going to cover a guy real quick by the name of John Murray Spear from 1804 to 1887. He was an American spiritualist minister who is most known for his attempts to construct an electrically powered messiah, which he referred to as the new mode of power. Now, this is straight up like a steampunk robot god that these people tried to build.
Was it like the giant robot spider in Wild Wild West?
You know what? I think that's what they were going for. It didn't quite get there, though.
Oh.
In 1852, Spear broke all ties with the Universalist Church and instead turned to spiritualism. He claimed that he was in contact with the Association of Electrizers, a group of spirits including Benjamin Franklin, Thomas Jefferson, John Quincy Adams, and Benjamin Rush. Evidence indicates he occasionally faked signatures as a way to gain authority from a spirit guide from the past. However, these signatures were dated beyond the lifetimes of the deceased. Spear believed that the purpose of this group was to bring new technology to people so that the greater level of personal and spiritual freedom could be achieved. The following year, Spear and a handful of followers retreated to a wooden shed at the top of High Rock Hill in Lynn, Massachusetts, where they set to work creating the new mode of power, a mechanical messiah, which was intended to herald a new era of utopia. The new mode of power was constructed of copper, zinc, and magnets, because how do they work? All carefully machined, as well as a dining room table to which they were all attached. So basically, it's the fucking, what do they call it? It's a ping pong? No. What's that shit? Ding, 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 ding. You know, where you
Pinball.
hit the pinball. Yeah, it sounds like a fucking, like, I don't know, holy pinball machine shrine. Let's see. At the end of 9 months, Spear and the new Mary, an unnamed woman, ritualistically birthed the contraption, which, I don't know what the fuck that entails. I can only imagine.
It was messy,
I think I've seen a documentary like that. Unfortunately for Spear, this failed to have the desired effect, and the machine was later dismantled. Spiritualism influenced Spear throughout most of his life. His business cards note. This was printed on his business cards. Guided and assisted by beneficent spirit intelligence, Mr. S will examine and prescribe for disease of body and mind, will delineate the character of persons who then present or by letter and indicate their future as impressions are given him, will sketch the special capacities of young persons, applications to lecture or hold conversations on spiritualism will be welcomed. So I imagine his business cards were huge as fuck. 1872, Spear claimed to have received a message from the Association of Electrizers, which that sounds actually pretty fucking cool, like electric ghosts and shit, but whatever. Urging him to retire from the ministry. Yes, yeah, I'm sure. The ghost told me to retire, not the fact that everything fucking failed so miserably. He died in October 1887 in the city of Philadelphia and was buried in the Mount Moriah Cemetery. So yeah, and that's just one example of like the weird fucking places that spiritualism would like branch off to. So many, like, man, but this in particular was extra fucking weird. So I thought I'd include it just for a illustration of
Just for fun.
how wacky things got with that particular belief system. Yeah, Matt, back to you.
And we're back. Thank you, Cornelius. We'll see you later. Bye.
Get the fuck out of here, Cornelius.
Dude.
Learn to close the door, Cornelius.
Jesus Christ. Okay, back to the show. Thank you for waiting on us to smoke. After the loss of all his family members, 6 for those of you keeping in score at home, he got into spiritualism. He became progressively attracted to spiritualism and the occult, and while researching the topic, he came across the infamous pictures of fairies from a family in Cottingley, rural Yorkshire. Holy shit, that's a mouthful.
Yeah. The Cottingley fairies.
Yes, Cottingley. He believed the lie.
Yeah. It was a total fraud, but
Absolutely.
he was anxious to believe.
And then he put it in his 1922 book, The Coming of Fairies, which
sounds like a dirty movie, but
is
it's actually quite dry.
yeah. And so the funny thing about all that stuff is like he looked at these photographs and he was just convinced that these got to be real, and or he just wanted them to be real. So he
Yeah, and you know what? When you look at them, the first thing you think is, "Fuck, these are fake."
yeah, super
So
fake.
obviously
It makes me
fake.
feel sorry for him. It makes me
Yeah.
feel sorry for anybody who
Well.
that has that much faith in something that is just false.
Yeah,
they,
and we'll get into the finer points.
So he took these photographs and like he had the people at Eastman Kodak, for those of you that don't know, for you kids out there, that was when pictures were actually printed out on a film.
Yeah, and you had to take them somewhere to let some random weirdo look at them to get them developed.
Yes, in fact, that's the plot of how the serial killer worked in Manhunter.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how he picked his victims. They said these photographs are no moleste. That no one has done anything to these. These are totally 100% real photographs of whatever it is you're looking at. Nobody's altered anything. But those girls, who one of them to the day she died said, "Oh no, yeah, they're real." The other one said, "No, that was a hoax. We did that." Like they even admitted to it later on in life. And they're like,
Well, yeah, they said that they tried to say that the photos were fake, but they really did encounter fairies, etc.
yeah,
Which, man, this happens a lot with like claims of the paranormal. People, like a lot of like Bigfoot and stuff like that, people will like have encounters or whatever, and they'll, they'll come so close to like having a way to like prove something, but then they try to juice the story and, zhuzh it up a lot. And then that's where the bullshit comes in. And people are like, they start flim-flamming. And to quote a gentleman we'll be talking about soon, it takes a flim-flammer to catch a flim-flammer.
Snap it to a Slim Jim.
that's true. That's
Oh,
true.
yeah, it takes a flim-flammer to catch a flim-flammer.
It's just so weird to me, I mean, we've all seen something or experienced something that we just can't quite explain. But if you tried to like prove it, I mean, like I've seen a shadow person before, or at least I think I did. But
Yeah.
I can't prove it to anyone.
I talked to an entity inside my head one time, but that, just saying that out loud already,
Yeah, I think there's proof of that on though. You know?
I spoke of what I saw when I was inhaling these legal substances that I buy from stores.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've all had something, I'm sure. I mean, I think that's part of the human experience is just an anomalous experience, like happens to everyone sooner or later.
But this guy was so just convinced, man. There's no change in his mind. It really started pissing off some of his friends. And like, dude, you're a Catholic man, and you're talking about how fairies are gonna change the world.
Yeah, and one of those men in particular was a good friend of his for a while until, well, you'll see. We're talking about a fella by the name of Harry Houdini. And him and Doyle, our old boy Nacho, they were fucking tight as shit for a while. Like, they were fucking good homies. Until, well, this is what happened. The final fallout between Houdini and Doyle began not long after the death of Houdini's beloved mother, whom he mourned greatly. Like, she was a big figure in his life. Whilst he was still very much deep in mourning, Doyle's wife, Jean, actually had the brass flip-flaps to attempt or pretend she'd made contact with Houdini's mother on the other side. Quite obviously lying due to the fact that Jean, or / the ghost of Houdini's mother, was speaking English, when in actual fact, Houdini's mother only spoke Yiddish and Hungarian. So that straight up proved that to Houdini that, this woman's obviously full of shit. This particular incident lit the fire under Houdini's ass that sent him off on his rip-roaring rampage of revenge against any so-called clairvoyants attempting to fleece the grieving. Their relationship was further strained due to Doyle's frequent insistences that the many abilities which Houdini displayed were in no way simple misdirection, legerdemain, which means, hand tricks, dexterity.
Prestidigitation.
Yes, exactly.
Have you all ever seen, like, I forget the sect of Protestantism that does it, where they have people come in, like, they speak through the human, like, and they actually speak in tongues?
Yeah, glossolalia.
Have you heard it?
Yeah. It's a lot of like,
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah. It's catching the ghost and all that. But yeah, Doyle constantly insisted that Houdini actually had like magical supernatural abilities. Houdini even once directly addressed his friend/rival's belief in his quote-unquote extraordinary abilities by stating, "Well, Sir Arthur, if you were to build a packing case large enough to contain me and all the American spiritualists and the scientists that uphold them, weight it with pig iron, tie us up, and throw us into the sea, I'd be the only one that would come up. But it would be trickery that would release me." The saddest thing about the fallout between Doyle and Houdini is that it all revolves around misplaced grief. One could also argue that Houdini would soon come to more or less personify the hyper-rational detective that Doyle created and then eventually hated so fucking much, especially once he started like debunking fucking charlatan spiritualists became like a huge fucking part of his show. Actually, he'd like invite these people to take part in his shows and fucking call them out on stage in front of everyone, which didn't earn him any favors. And he eventually even testified before Congress to have spiritualists and fortune tellers and mediums, etc., basically outlawed because he thought they were all across the board fucking fakers and charlatans.
Iron Man versus Fin Fang Foom comes to mind whenever I hear this, because of, technology versus magic.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, Houdini basically, he would like illustrate how these people did their tricks by pulling them off himself, because he knew all this like sleight of hand, etc. So obviously this earned Houdini quite a few enemies, and Doyle was counted among them after a while, because he's basically like calling out his belief system as bullshit.
Why you gotta be such a dick?
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, there eventually would arise years later after the death of Houdini a sort of conspiracy theory about how the spiritualists were more or less colluding to have him taken out, especially when it came to the fact that he started fucking with their money, and B, you, for the true believers, are pissing off essentially a bunch of religious zealots.
Oh.
So when you cross money and religious zealots, you're going to have some fucking pissed off crazy people out to get your ass. The prevailing, what everyone knows about the death of Houdini is that he took a couple gut punches from a large fella by the name of Whitehead. I believe his full name was Jocelyn Gordon Whitehead. Sounds like a tough guy. He was like, "Hey, Houdini, I heard you can withstand a gut punch." And he's like, "I can, as long as I flex my muscles the right way," which he didn't get to do. And supposedly Houdini also had appendicitis forming at the same time.
Oh.
Now, the prevailing theory behind the spiritualist killed Houdini idea is that he not only took these gut punches, but that the appendicitis was supposedly instigated by poisoning, which, if you look into the medicine of it and the medical history, etc., there's no known poison that can directly cause appendicitis. However, later on, there would come to light a interview with one of the nurses who was on duty that was taking care of Houdini while he was in the hospital after the whole gut punch incident. He was like, "Oh, the show must go on," and he did the show anyways that night, and was later taken to the hospital and was supposedly joking around with the nurse. The nurse said that he also happened to be suffering from pancreatitis, which in turn triggered his appendicitis in something like a cascading effect of intestinal trauma, further complicated by Whitehead's fucking fisticuffs.
Oh, my God.
Now, There does, in fact, exist one particular substance which is known to initiate pancreatitis, and this particular substance is called arsenic. Being not just one of the first ever mega celebrities, but also an undisputed badass as well, Houdini and his wife Bess were famously known to go globetrotting from show to show with absolutely no security. However, he did send like agents ahead of time to like sort of get the
reconnaissance.
Yeah, basically get the flavor of the town. Is like
book the shows.
Yeah, are there people here who want to fucking kill me? Yeah, it's exactly. And yeah, like poisoning through his food is one of the big prevailing theories because his wife Bess also got sick to a degree not long before he died. So the whole Houdini death conspiracy does have some little credence to it. There is a possibility that it's true. And when you take this into account with the fact that Doyle, on several accounts, made threatening remarks in his letters to other folks directly addressing Houdini, it takes on a bit of a sinister connotation.
Are you saying that Conan Doyle poisoned Houdini?
Not directly, but he could have been,
like paid somebody?
Possibly tangentially involved because the fact that they were friends, then rivals, and then bitter enemies, I think it sort of fueled a much stronger passion to get back at the fucking guy, basically. But years later, after his death, Doyle would go on to write letters to Houdini's widow and just like, I'm sorry. Yeah. So I don't know. That's a pretty interesting, aside, I think that.
Well, even just an added note there. The apothecary used to sell cyanide and arsenic. I mean, you could.
Yeah.
You could walk in there and buy this shit.
And the spiritualists, there's talk of the guys who were in charge of like most of the charlatans, like the people who were like making money off of this and kind of turning it into a business, were sometimes referred to as the psychic mafia, which is a fucking awesome name.
It's better than the skate pimps.
Yeah, that's true. Wow, that's a callback. Anyways, the quote unquote psychic mafia, these people who, were already charlatans and fucking con men. Supposedly, the more that they crossed over into the criminal world, if they were trying to, off a guy, whack off a guy, they always used poison. Like that was their supposed modus operandi. So it's sort of
a guy with poison. That sounds gruesome.
Yeah, I know, right? I don't know why fucking sandpaper comes to mind, but
maybe that's more sanitary.
Yeah,
or humane. Oh dear.
But yeah, so I mean, a lot of people straight out dismiss the whole idea that Houdini was fucking, well, more or less murdered, for lack of a better word, but there is some credence to it. So I don't know, take it with a grain of salt. It does need seasoning. I don't know. I could definitely see, once again, I mean, if you look at the behavior of A, criminals, and B, religious zealots, and then you're fucking intertwining the two, who knows what they're fucking capable of. So
yeah, especially since so many people who are with the quote unquote burden of being a sociopath or a psychopath, and their affinity to climb the ladders of society very well,
radicalization, things like that. Yeah,
that's no surprise. Scary though.
Mucho
nacho.
Yes.
If you get the one nacho that's connected to other nachos,
that's the rule.
That counts as one nacho.
So after the war, Nacho wrote a lot of fiction about spiritualism, and he went on these what they called psychic crusades all over the globe.
Checking out the, what's it called? Ectoplasm?
Yeah.
Which was, man, I don't know how people bought that shit, dude. If you look at every goddamn picture of ectoplasm, it's obviously like cherry cloth and bullshit. There was one woman who fucking actually built a chair where her husband like hid under the chair, sort of, and he could like stick his hand out and like from like where her lady parts were, and like supposedly like the ghost was like forming ectoplasmically out of her lady bits, which there's some pictures of. It's strange. I'll say that in the least.
You know, like the way people like, you know how you said that people back then were really stupid.
Yes, I was about to bring that up.
Okay, well,
Back
like
when
that.
people were in black and white, they were fucking stupid.
That reminds me of this like device that male doctors would put on their hands. And long story short,
Oh yeah,
it would give the woman an orgasm.
Yeah,
while husband was there looking on, like, oh yes, look at what's there. She must be possessed. What's going on here?
Yeah, that was a treatment for hysteria, which
would only give her more hysteria. Once she had an orgasm.
The word hysteria actually comes from the same root as like hysterectomy and whatnot, because I believe hyster refers to the womb. And when the word hysteria first came into use, doctors believed that it meant that a woman's womb had just fucking run amok all over her body, like it just detached and started wandering.
They called it wandering uterus syndrome.
Yeah, and that's where the word hysteria comes from. So there you go, little.
You want to let these little ladies go out and vote?
Etymological history.
That is not oppressive at all.
A lot of the stuff that he did, he ended up getting back with his dear, sweet friend Sherlock Holmes. And he had been offered $5,000 to write one story or $65,000 to write 13. And, you know, needing the money because ghosts don't pay the rent anymore. Yeah.
If only.
Yeah.
Do my ghosts not send you the check? I don't understand.
Could have swore. I called him. Anyways, we seanced him. He took the money and he brought back Sherlock Holmes and the greatness of Sherlock Holmes. He just explained that, oh no, I didn't die. I fell down the waterfall, lost contact with Moriarty. You know, I haven't talked to him in years. We assume he's dead. I just assumed a new name and worked on a fishing boat and a whaling boat and like all this stuff. He's been gone 10 years and just, he finds Watson. He's like, hey man, I'm not dead. And Watson's like, what the fuck is this, bruh?
You couldn't call somebody?
Yeah, you couldn't write?
Fucking cokehead?
Yeah, like, now, Watson, will you do me a favor and fetch me my cocaine slippers? It's fuck you, it's Dr. Watson. Hey, fuck you, man. Fuck it. And, you know, it turns into, where's my heroin label?
Fuck your doctor, I'm smarter than you.
Yeah. Anyways, good stuff for fun. He ended up making a lot of money off of that. And then they ended up having a lot more fun because he wrote the Land of the Mist in 1926, the Disintegration Machine that Mike mentioned earlier, also in 1926, and When the World Screamed, all of which were very successful, but never as successful as Sherlock Holmes. Ended up writing 12 stories about Sherlock Holmes and a single set and calling it the Case Book of Sherlock Holmes by 1928.
And what was his birth date again? The year?
May 7th, or no, May 22nd, 1859.
1859. Okay, so
1859.
he lived through the Civil War.
Well, he was a baby.
Yeah, but he did.
He did. He did. He died from a heart attack.
I say you, he did.
Yeah, I say you, he did. No, he was at some retreat with his wife, and they found him out in the garden. He fell down and had a heart attack. He was clutching his chest in one hand.
He farted.
Yeah, let's use that as an ending. They just heard a loud fart noise and a big thud. And they found him out there clutching his heart in one hand and a flower in the other. And he died. Allegedly, he had last words to his wife, which was like, "It's everything is wonderful. You've been so wonderful."
Oh,
yeah.
As he was clutching his butthole.
Yeah.
And then his ghost came out of his head. Oh, we are 40-year-old men.
Yeah. We really hope you enjoyed the show today.
There was just so much goddamn information. Yeah. I mean, this dude lived a life. And, man, I actually had some other stuff that...
God damn it, Cornelius, I said no, dude. We're working. Fuck off.
Cornelius, learn to close the door.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, we actually had some extra information, but we didn't have enough time to get to today. So I will probably cover that in our next sideshow.
Really
also,
big sideshow.
If you'd like to contact us, which we would love for you to do so, email us at kookscranksaniconoclasts@gmail.com. Or you can visit our website at kooks-cranks-and-iconoclasts.com, or check us out on Facebook at Kooks, Cranks, and Iconoclasts.
No ampersand.
No ampersand. Yes, it's the whole word and. Facebook.com, Kooks, Cranks, and Iconoclasts.
Please donate today.
Yeah.
We need the help.
Oh, man.
Yes, please donate. We will be available. We will have availability for donations in about a week.
Awesome.
This being April 16th today. So if you could help us out, we could give you better content. Thank you so much.
Yeah, that can help up our production values, get us some better research for you guys, do longer episodes, more content. So, yeah, please do.
And like Ace of Base said, I touched a bum. He opened up his eyes. I touched a bum.
Yeah. And these sound effects, yeah, they cost money.
Nazi sympathizers, that band.
All this music and sound effects and whatnot.
Quick tidbit of info. So yeah, thanks for tuning in today to the Kooks, Cranks, and Iconoclast podcast. I'm Mike.
I'm Matt.
I'm J-Lo.
On the Wheels of Steel. And we'll be back next week with someone around this same time frame.
Surprise.
Yeah, but we won't tell you who. You have to tune in.
Is it Dr. Manhattan?
You know what?
Is it Wolverine?
No, but I was trying to draw some parallels.
I think he just goes by Logan now.
There might be some there's some tangential connections. I'm not to pull them out of my ass, just fucking make it fit. Anywho, thanks for coming by. We'll see you next week. We love you guys. Take care.
Bye.
See ya. Deuces.
Very much.
Alistair Crowley.